Welcome to MTM Travel, Mark, where my ego is huge because Chase just sent me a gift for being an ink card holder for 10 years. So all of that money that I've made them, and all I got with these cookies and some coffee, and I love it.
What's the saying in the one movie I saw? Like, sex is like a Chinese dinner. It's not done until you both get your cookies.
I mean, over the years, it's interesting when like a package shows up to your door from a bank or from a different brand. I think we've all had that happen. I know Hyatt sent me weird things over the years, like travel plugs and stuff like that for being a globalist. I'm trying to think. I've had other banks send me different stuff, but this just came out of nowhere from Chase, and it has the like Chase Ink logo everywhere. Has the note. Had some cookies, some brownies, good stuff. It was a little dry. I want to say the pastries, so maybe they need to work on the freshness there. But what a great thought, and I liked it.
Yeah, I think Reserve they did like champagne one time where they send out champagne bottles and glasses and all that stuff. So it's cool to see. I've never gotten one from Chase, so I don't have anything to compare there. The only thing I've ever gotten from any bank, and I know like Barclays does something similar with their Wyndham card, but I think that's like a here you can get a pizza kit, but you got to sign up, and it's not just randomly sent out. But I did get one from American Express. I think you got like a gift card once from American Express to some random place, but I got a wood cell phone holder for the desk, and it was like, what am I going to do with this? So I ended up I ended up using it. The floor in my office at the time wasn't like the most level, so when I went to open up my filing cabinet, it would tip sometimes. So it fit perfectly, like the lip of the cabinet fit into where the cell phone is supposed to go. So I put it there, and it like leveled it all out. It was like the jankiest thing ever, but that's what my Amex gift went to use for.
That's awesome. That's right. A few years ago, they were sending out a lot of gifts. American Express was, and yeah, I remember my wife got a pretty big gift card for some high end retailer online, which they only had bougie, expensive stuff. So it was like enough for a belt or something, like $100 belt. I don't know, but yeah, it's always cool when they do this, and I guess it's all part of the loyalty game when you get something. And I wonder what the coolest gift people out there have gotten. We've seen. I'm trying to think off the top of my head. I've seen people get some crazy gifts that I'm really jealous and I get FOMO for. Obviously, this Chase Ink thing, certainly not. And I've had my Chase Ink cards for 10 years. Talk about that. I mean, all of the 5X and vanilla reloads back in the day. I think that's when I got my first Chase Ink card. I was doing vanilla reloads at Office Depot.
Just think of like all the good stuff back then. You could get signups easy. You could sign up for, two Chase cards on the same day, same hard pull. It was just kind of like the wild, wild west. And it was before 524 and everything was simple. Like you called Chase. We talked about Chase Recon, I think on 20-minute travel. But it was like you just call in and you'd be like, hey, can you move money from this card to that card? And they're like, yeah, sure. Let's get you going. Here you go. And it was kind of before miles and points blew up. And I'm sure there's still some people listening that wish it was that way now and wasn't so popular and probably blame people like us for that. But that's just like the nature of things. It's just too good to be true. Like what you can do with miles and points is so great that it's going to become popular at some point.
And for those who don't know what vanilla reloads were, this was something Frequent Miler wrote about it a lot back in the day, and I did too. And it was Office Depot, so they had gift cards and stuff that you could buy and figure out ways. But the vanilla reloads were easier than that. You could just go in there, buy it, and then take the code from it, load it directly into your Bluebird account, and then pay off the credit card that way. But it was just a matter of just loading it into your account. Obviously, there's other plays that have come and gone that have been easier or just as easy. But that one, I don't know, it just spoke to me. And it was the first time I was ever really just, I don't know, printing points for lack of a better term. I mean, where it was just so easy, wasn't doing a lot of work. And it's funny because a lot of people weren't doing it back then. So I'd go into these Office Depots and they looked at me like I was a criminal. They would call to do like weird verifications. And that was the part I didn't like because I always got the third degree.
Yeah, now you go into a store and on the day that the gift card deals kick off and there's no gift cards on the rack and stuff like that. Or they play games where they hide them and you have to ask for it, which is annoying, or they keep them at the front desk and you got to deal with somebody. So they definitely know what's going on more so now, and they make it a little bit more difficult at times, even if they don't care. It's just like, hey, you've seen me every week for the last 4 years. Like, let's just make this happen. So that gets a little bit annoying, but it just goes with the game. And the more you social engineer with these things, the better off you get, no matter what stores you go to and stuff. If you remember something personal about a person and bring it up, and it just relaxes them and makes everything go a little bit more smoothly.
Yeah, I think social engineering is the skill that when I talk to people in this hobby, the most successful people in this hobby, they use it in abundance. Social engineering, just making sure that they know who you are, that you like them, just understand that you have a goal and then do everything that's in line with that. But yeah, it's so interesting over the years. Remember, everybody said 5X Chase Ink would go away. It was never going to last. And here we are. Obviously, the card lineup has changed a little bit. We used to have the Ink, Bold and Plus, I think. And now,
Yeah.
the Ink Cash has the 5X going on, but 5X office stores still living strong.
Yeah, I wonder why they got rid of the Ink Plus. I mean, it's just double the cash with the annual fee. Like, it was such a great card. Maybe knock it down to 35,000 and do the annual fee. I think people would still be all about it. Plus, it makes it transferable currency because it's an annual fee Chase card. So, yeah, I got why they got rid of the Bold. It was like a whole different kind of thing. But the Plus, you just rolled out Ink Cash, got rid of the annual fee. It just doesn't seem like it made a ton of sense to do. But I was rocking the Ink Plus for a long time, and if you still got that card, it's a great one.
I wonder how many Hyatt nights the Chase Ink cards have given me. How many nights in a Hyatt have I spent because of the Chase Ink cards over the years? So I love that relationship, and I've had the cards for a long time. And it's nice when the banks do this. I said this on another show because I think people in this hobby think that we're bad customers to the banks or we're doing something wrong. And first off, I don't think most people are doing anything wrong. There's obviously rules and there's gray areas and people push stuff like that. But I think the vast majority of people, including both of us, are good customers to the banks. We are signing up for cards, we're paying annual fees, we're doing all kinds of stuff. And yes, maybe some of us are taking advantage of the system a little bit more than others. But if there's one of us doing that, there's 99 other people who are not doing it. And if you're a customer and you hold a card for 10 years and you're part of that ecosystem, you're a good customer to the bank. And it's nice that they recognize that, even though our relationship at times with these banks can be adversarial.
Yeah, I think it all depends, and that's what I don't get about some of these rules is that, like, it depends on the card feature. If you put a cap at 25,000, let's say for 5 times earning, and you're losing money on all that, hoping that somebody spends it on the 1x categories to make up for it, that's a big risk, and that's something you're taking. Now they get much higher swipe fees on business charges at office stores, so maybe that isn't really that big of a deal, or as long as you don't transfer to a Hyatt, like, they're still coming out ahead. But maybe us, because we use our points and transfer them there, it's not a profitable thing. But overall, it is. But like cards like the Ink Unlimited or the Freedom Unlimited, where you're earning 1.5 times, they're definitely making money on all those swipes. Like, there's nothing that they're not making money on. Why would you, limit that? And not somebody like me, let's say I can't get a Chase card because I'm over 524, but I would love to have that card in my arsenal. Why wouldn't you open it up to me? Because it's a card that you can't, you know, do anything with. It is what it is. There's no limits. There's no bonus earning. I mean, there is now, but when they rolled out 524, it was just 1.5 on everything. There was no 3 times dining and all that stuff. But at that point, why did you, gatekeep this card? It just seems like they should think about things a little bit more, like a card that's going to make them money on every swipe, no matter what you do. Why not opening that up to everybody?
Yeah, those flat rate everywhere cards are popular too, and they really do drive home for the bank. Remember a few years ago, we were having a chat with Citi executives and about all their card lineup, and we knew more about their cards than they did, but they were in love with the double cash. That's all they wanted to talk about, was the double cash and why everybody wanted one and should have one, as if the 2% cash back was God's gift to the earth and nobody else had ever thought of it. But I think the reason that they thought that was because it is a popular thing. Some people just want to have that card and use it. And I agree with you. Like, from a strategy perspective, Chase should probably want everybody to have it, but they got their rules and they figured it out and they have all the data. And 524 is what, 8 years old at this point, just off the top of my head. It's been around a long time. So clearly at this point, they know how it's working for them. And, they've figured this out to where it's doing good. And we talked on the other show too about how we're starting to see some tightening too. So maybe the banks are going to get a little stricter here as we are in a little bit of an uncertain time. It's hard to say the economy's bad, but it does feel like everybody's uncertain about it.
Yeah, I think, whenever you have a change in government and all that stuff, everybody's going to be a little cautious. You don't know how it's going to play out, what the market's going to do, all that kind of stuff. So I wouldn't be surprised to see them be like this for the next 6 months, 8 months. And then if everything, it goes smoothly or whatever, then they go back to the way it was. But we've seen this time and time again come ebbs and flows with them being tight on things or letting things be loose. But they've been kind of crazy with what they allow go on with business cards if you're under 524 and hasn't made sense, and they seem to care more about your overall credit limit that they give to you versus how many cards you have. So some people will have like 7 or 8 personal cards, but when you get towards the end of that, it's, hey, we already extend you enough credit and then you can move it around and all of those things, and it's like that's not normal. That's not what a normal person does. So like you have this 524 rule, but then if you're under it, you kind of can do what you want within reason, and it just doesn't make a ton of sense.
While we're on the subject of banks, let's talk Citibank. Did you see this crazy story about the former Brooklyn Nets co-owner, billionaire guy? He has these fraudulent charges on his Prestige card, and he keeps having to file a claim on this. It's funny because on 20-minute travel this week, we talk about how American Express and these Facebook advertising charges that are happening on their gold cards. People can check that out, but how people are having to constantly kind of replace their card with a new card number. Well, that's what he was having to do. And then eventually Citi just shuts down his account saying there's too many problems with it. They take his 29 million ThankYou points, and he hasn't been able to get a resolution. This has been covered in the media. Citi won't comment on the lawsuit that's going on because he's suing them. And I guess if this guy can get his 29 million points taken away, everybody should be cautious.
This is what I find really crazy about this. Like Chase does it best, where they give you, if they close down your accounts for whatever reason, they give you 30 days. One, they'll give you like whatever you've earned on those charges. So let's say you spent like $5,000 on your World of Hyatt card, and they close you down before the statement cuts. When the statement cuts, you'll still get those points. And the same thing goes for Ultimate Rewards cards. You'll still get all those points. And then you have 30 days to transfer out anything that's in your Ultimate Rewards account to partners or cash it out, whatever you want to do with those points. And that's great. It's very consumer friendly. It's the way it should be. You earn those points unless you did something that they deem illegal and they confiscate the points because of that. You've earned them. You paid for them. They got the swipe fees. It's, hey, I don't want you as a customer anymore, but here's the stuff that you deserve. You get it. But it took a lawsuit for them to get to that point. They used to just be like everybody else, where as soon as they close your accounts, you lost all your points, nothing you could do about it. Pretty much everybody else is like that. Citi's like that. Amex, you might have a little bit of leeway if you call in. But like if it's not a co-branded card where the points are kept outside of the bank, you're not going to see those points with most of these issuers. And it's crazy to me that once that precedent was set with Chase, how come everybody else didn't take it up, or how come nobody sued anybody else? Like, I think that this is good for us, that if he gets a resolution and he hopefully cites the Chase precedent, that Citi's going to have to do something similar.
Yeah, unless there's fraud on his part in earning of the points, I don't see why they would take it. Obviously, there's all kinds of terms and conditions and legalities, and there would be a court case, and this will be settled with the law. Neither of us are attorneys, but if you're just thinking purely from a customer perspective, obviously, if there's fraud, like you found that they're using their card in a fraudulent way or something about the way the points were earned, then I could see them wanting to take them. But if it's just a matter of you're seeing this account this guy spent million. Just imagine the amount of spending you have to do to earn 29 million points. First off, why would you want to shut off this guy's account? Now, it's obviously his story versus theirs. There's litigation. Maybe something else will come out, but it doesn't seem like he did anything other than replace his card. And at this point, like, why doesn't an executive in the Citi fix this? Like, it seems like a simple fix. You get to close down his account if you want. Just give him back his points. You don't want this in the press.
But like, why do you have 29 million points sitting there? What are you going to do with them? Well, at what point do you say, you know what, maybe this isn't smart having 29 million points? Are you building up for something? Like, the Citi transfer partners are decent. They're not the best. I'm guessing he has no clue how to use them with transfer partners, and he's wealthy enough that he probably doesn't care. But just cash them out for a penny then, and put it in your bank. Like, they don't earn interest sitting in your bank, in your ThankYou account. If you're going to cash them out anyway, cash them out and put them in a savings account. Do something. You think a guy this wealthy would be smarter than that?
A lot of people just use them to redeem for travel. I know some Centurion card holders, And that's what they do. They just redeem their points for travel. They sit them there and they use it to offset that. And speaking of that, I mean, there is a card for somebody like this guy. I don't know if the Prestige was the great card for that. Maybe Amex is on the phone with him, get him that black card. They'll take better care of him, I would imagine. I know like I said, I know the Centurion card holders, they love the service that Amex provides. And that is really the card for somebody like him. So maybe he needs to, yeah, switch over to American Express.
He won't earn the points as quickly because he's not getting 5 times on restaurants anymore. He's going to be getting 1 time on everything. I still can't believe that the Centurion card is so bad. It should be at least 2 times on everything if you're going to charge those kind of fees.
Hey, you got the money to pay for it. They don't need any generous stuff. It does come with some cool stuff like status with certain airlines and some other stuff that the way I see it is it's just a few little things that gives the people, justification to pay for it. It's really the concierge. I know I have a family member who has it, who uses the concierge constantly, and that's a huge benefit, and then books all of his travel through the concierge, and that's the ecosystem. It's not how we would do it, maximizing everything, but it works for them. And a lot of those people are tight on time. They have more money than time. They're not worried about maximizing every point, even though they should be, because those people are often spending a lot of money, and so they're throwing away a lot of points.
Yeah, and that's what's crazy. Like, if you get the black card, do you have to spend on the black? I know you have to spend so much money to even be considered for it, but once you get to that level, can you get the black card for the perks, but spend on your other Amex cards that earn better rates, or do they expect all that spending to shift to the black card to keep it? There'd be nothing more shameful than getting a black card than having them be like, you know what, you're not good enough anymore.
I don't know that. That's a good question. I do know when they're considering you for the black card, they're looking at your spend across all American Express cards to see if you qualify for that. So I would imagine that it would be across all the cards, but that's never a question that I know. So I guess I can ask next time I talk to a person. They might not even know. But yeah, I mean, you get a contact there. Business and personal are separate too with Centurion. So the spend levels required for a business black card versus a personal one are different. It's an interesting program, and not a lot of people like to talk about it. But the card is cool. It's very understated when you see it. Yeah, when you take it out, everybody knows what it is.
If you have the platinum card, you can cut the line at Walmart or Walgreens, or remember that lady in COVID that was like, "But I have a platinum card, let me through." I can only imagine what it's like if you have a black card. Like, do you know what this card is? It's a black card. You need to let me get through here.
People do fawn over it. I don't know that this is the right thing, or I have been with people using a black card and people notice it and they point it out. And for me, that would be the reason not to carry it. I would want the complete opposite. I don't want the attention, but there is that certain personality type, that person who wants the attention. And I don't mean like they're going in and saying I'm a big shot, but the service level changes. The way people smile at you changes. Maybe they expect a bigger tip. Maybe all of this happens and you do tend to get, I don't know, a little nicer experience with it. I don't know.
Yeah, and I have to imagine if you have a black card, you're going to places that are more likely to see something like that. Versus if you're just at like McDonald's, I don't think the person is going to be like, "Oh, you have a black Amex." They're going to be like, "Oh, what's this thing? It's heavy. Okay, cool."
Yeah, it's black. It doesn't look as nice as the platinum and shiny platinum card. I would
it's like
think
that crappy white gold.
Yeah, it's the poor man's platinum. But if you know, you know. So a couple other things. I know you have some travel you want to talk about. I did want to follow up just very, very briefly. Did end up going through with my plan for the direct flight back from Hawaii in a couple weeks. So basically what I talked about on the other show, I did. I ate up those miles, used up my Alaska miles to book on Hawaiian, didn't transfer anything else out. So yeah, that's basically I did the smart thing, even though I was trying to talk myself into not doing the smart thing.
Yeah, I think that's the best way to go. You never know what the future holds or anything like that. So take the best option right now based on everything that's happened, and next time around make the same call. And that's what everybody needs to do for every booking, every credit card sign up, every credit card closure, keep or cancel type of decision. Is don't just be like, well, this always was good for me in the past. You need to make those adjustments each and every year and decide what works best for you going forward, because things change all the time.
So one other interesting thing with the Aulani that I don't know that I mentioned when we talked about this previously is my buddy wanted to do potentially the 5 nights at Aulani on Oahu and then go do Maui for a couple nights. And we went back and forth on this. Now, I come from a place of privilege there because I've been to Maui a couple times. So obviously this would be the first time for him. But I told him if we were doing 5 days on Oahu, to fly to Maui for 2 nights and then fly home. It just felt like that would be too rushed and there wouldn't be enough to see. I haven't been there since the fires, but I know that's still a recovery. And I don't know, I was curious what you would do there. But basically, I talked him into let's just stay on Oahu for 7 nights. We can explore, we can do the North Shore, we can see all of the island and not lose all that time with the inter island flight, considering we would have only had about a day and a half once you factor in flying in Maui.
Yeah, I mean the flight's not bad though. It's like 30 minutes. Yes, you have to get to the airport and do all that, but the airport's pretty easy to get through. So I don't think that should really be a consideration. It's just, do you think it would be worth it, being on Maui for that day and a half? Can you find a hotel that works for it too? I would say if you're going to go to the North Shore, I think that I don't like Waikiki. I don't think anything down in that area is worth spending a couple nights on. I know some people love it. I thought it was just like you're in Florida, basically. I don't know. I didn't find anything charming about it. North Shore seems completely different. I mean, for getting Sarah Marshall, you could stay at the hotel up there where that was filmed. It just seems like a whole different vibe, more like a Maui vibe. So I think if they're looking for that, that would be worth it. And if you've never been to North Shore, go up that way, and then you can say you've done everything, and you don't need to go back to Oahu. So yeah, I can see your point. I also think if you want to go to Maui, I guess like what are you trying to get out of it? If you're just going for beach, then yeah, might be worth it. Go to like the Waldorf Astoria or something, just hang out for a couple days and hang out. But you definitely can't go see anything or do it. You can't go to Haleakala or anything like that because that takes almost a day. You can't do Hana unless you fly in there. So yeah, you're cutting off big chunks of Maui. So you basically are just a beach trip if you're doing that.
Yeah, and we're staying at Alani, which is beach and it's Disney and it's expensive. It's an expensive resort that we're going to be at and spending a lot of time there. So I figure the rest of it's for exploring. And Maui, like you say, to explore that island, it's just not going to be enough time. And there's areas to explore. I do right now. We are going to stay down in Waikiki after Alani. I do like Waikiki, but we can kind of explore from there. I don't know, but I do plan to like drive to the North Shore. He hasn't seen Pearl Harbor. We have. I just feel like there's enough to see on Oahu, considering we're going to want to spend some days on the beach at Alani and not leave when we're at that resort because of the nature of it. So I think that's good. And I don't know, Maui just seems, every trip I've done there, I've been there for 5, 6, 7 days. And it just, I still don't feel like I've seen all of Maui. There's so much to see. I haven't gone to Hana. That's one thing, but it's just, it feels like a very substantial island for a day and a half. And yeah, you'd be able to see one thing and then you'd be getting back on the airplane going home.
Yeah, it's pretty spread out too. Like if you're going to certain things, it takes a couple hours, and it's not like hopping around, a big city or anything like that. So you definitely need some time, and like certain things take a day or half a day, and you have to plan for that. Like Hana, if you're just doing the drive, that's a full day. If you're staying out the hotel, there's 2 days now, so you need some time built in there. But I mean, wave to my beach while you're there. My Arby's beach is right next to where you're going to be at. I think it's Aluani, then what is it, Four Seasons, and then the private beach that I was hanging out on.
Yeah, it's these like coves that are cut out of the thing because I've flown over them. Super cool, super excited for that and to see some of it. And yeah, I felt so bad telling our friend. I mean, I told him I was willing to do Maui if he really, really wanted to, but I didn't think it was a good idea. That was my expert advice, and he deferred to me. So now I have like guilt that I'm like keeping him from Maui.
I'm surprised you don't want to take him to your favorite Hyatt Regency for a couple days instead.
Hyatt Regency in Waikiki. That's cool. I haven't stayed there, and that's where we're booked to stay. So I guess that'll be the experience. I don't know. I mean,
Not gonna be the
Waikiki.
same.
I know Waikiki is its own thing, but I've only been there once too. I've only been to Waikiki once, so it's not like I've been there a ton, and it was over 10 years ago. So I'm looking forward to that. So what's going on with your travels? I know you have Christmas markets coming up, and you've been heading up to northern Michigan a little bit. So what's going on?
Yeah, so we, this past weekend we went up and to Lexington where our cottage is, and just kind of wanted to check on the house. We do it every month or two, and just kind of go hit our favorite restaurants, go to our favorite local businesses, support them a bit. So we did all that, and we stayed at the cute little hotel in town called the Cadillac House, boutique-y, like late 1800s type of rustic inn, it feels like. And when you sit in the restaurant, it's like you're in New England or something. Just the design, it's very cool, and the rooms are very nice. They're super overpriced now. Like a year ago, we got like a suite for $175. Now they wanted $350 for just a regular room with a couch. It's a decent room. I mean, it should be like $200, especially in the winter. It's crazy. But I had the Venture X card, business card, re-upped for the year, and I had a $300 credit to spend. So I was like, all right, if you guys want to go and stay there, my wife's birthday is at the end of this month. My daughter's birthday was a couple weeks ago. My son's was a month ago. So I'm like, if you want to go ball out a bit, we can do that. So booked it, $300 came off, and then paid the rest with points on Capital One. It was like $75 with taxes and fees and all that. But then I asked them after I left, to email me the receipt because I wanted a clean receipt for tax purposes. They sent me one that said to Expedia or whatever, and it was for $285. And I went and checked just to make sure their website, because I remember checking the website and it was the same as Capital One's. So they were charging $350 still on the weekends. During the week, it drops down to like 150, 175, which is a crazy markup for weekends, but whatever. And so that's the cut. That's the difference. And that's why they want you to use their travel portals. That's why the credit became a discount in the travel portal. I'm surprised the Sapphire Reserve hasn't gone that route, but that's why Chase gives you more if you redeem through the travel portal versus cashing out, because they get such a big cut of it. You're talking almost $100 that they got from me that they didn't have to pay to the hotel, which is kind of crazy.
Yeah, it is crazy and not at all surprising with the way things go. And as you said, we've seen like this explosion in the travel portals with the banks. They've all become essentially travel agents. And, they all had portals before, but it was more of, I don't know, like an afterthought. They just contracted it out to another company, and it's still contracted out to another company, but it's now so essential to everything, whether it be credits that they're offering, increased earnings on almost every card now for using their travel portal. They really want you to say, okay, I talked about the Centurion card holder and how use the concierge and booking all your travel there. They really want you to say, I have my Capital One card. I'm going to use Capital One Travel. That's how I book my travel, or that's Chase's how I book my travel. And yeah, it's a big profit center for them. Interesting, 285 versus what you said, about 375. So yeah, it's interesting to see that. I always enjoy that too when you're staying in like on an award stay. Have you ever had that where they accidentally give you the bill that you get to see how much they were paying? And
it's
a
like
lot of times
$50.
it's low. Yeah.
Yeah. If it's a full hotel, then they get paid really well. But if it's not, I'm surprised they even allow award stay. Like, it's crazy how low they get paid. It's not even worth like the points, not even a penny a point. Like, it's just insane sometimes how low that goes. But I found it kind of interesting. And then, we didn't talk about this before the show, but I also ended up booking the Universal Hotel in Orlando like you did. But, I tried to do it because they wanted like $850 for the express passes, and the hotel was like $850. So I might as well do that, get the $200 credit with my personal platinum, and then the $100 property credit, $60 breakfast, all that stuff. So it ends up being cheaper than just buying the passes direct, and we get a free hotel out of it essentially. But the one that you stayed at and the Hard Rock Hotel are no longer in FHR. At least because I booked the one that you stayed at, and then I was like, I don't think it said FHR. So I reached out in chat, and they're like, oh no, that's not FHR. And I went back, and it's only the Italian one. I forget what the heck it's called, but that was the only one that was still on FHR, which is sad to see. Hopefully they come back.
Yeah, that does stink, the Portofino Bay. And I think I think Hard Rock and Portofino are about the same price wise. They're both the more expensive ones. The one that I did, the Royal Pacific, is the cheaper of the three, which is one of the reasons
it was like $100 cheaper too. I was sad.
Yeah. And it's a nice, it's a nice hotel for what it is. They're all run by Lowe's, so it's nice. But yeah, I mean, I remember when those hotels were consistently $300 and $400 a night, which made the deal even more insane than it is now.
Yeah, there's no point in buying the express pass if the hotel's for, even if you don't stay there. Like, you're saving, especially if you do 2 days, because even at like 2 days, it's still half price compared to getting express passes, unless they probably give a better deal on a 2-day purchase versus 1 day. But if it's just double, then yeah, you're talking like half price by doing the hotel. And I remember Brian was telling me about this years ago, and he booked it for like $300. And once you got all the discounts and everything, it was like free hotel stay. So it's sad to see that. And I think that happened in the last year or so. So hopefully they come back down. Those prices are just crazy. I can't imagine feeling that I got enough value from my stay for $800 unless you just like maximize the express pass.
But if you're staying at an equivalent Disney hotel, you're going to pay $800 and you're not getting anything like that. So I think that, no, but I think that's why Universal's been able to push their prices up, because the value in comparison. And we don't even know how long that benefit's going to last. It's obviously been around a long time, but with their newest hotels, Sapphire Falls, and then now the Helios Grand, which is their new hotel opening up at Epic Universe, both of those hotels are their top tier and they don't come with free express passes. So, it's not something they're expanding on anymore, which makes me think at some point we might see it go away, as they grow and they get their third park open and all of that. So I don't know, but yeah, it was great. I mean, that's all I can say is I really enjoyed it and I plan to do it again. I have my annual passes, but I'm going to do that. Like what you're saying is get one night, do the 2 days and, enjoy it.
Yeah, I think if you can maximize both days, it's an insane value. And, you see those new hotels, the newer ones, the prices are way lower, like, a couple $100 a night. So they're definitely pricing in the express pass. And I'm guessing over the last couple of years, the express passes have gone up in price quite a bit. So I think that factors in all of that. But yeah, this weekend, though, we are doing Christmas markets, but it's not going to be in Europe. It's going to be in Chicago, which I think have the biggest Christmas markets in the U.S., but when you look at them, they're still very tiny compared to what you get in Europe.
Hey, at least we got something. Yeah, we didn't know. I know we talked on a show at some point recently about these and didn't really know about them and hadn't really heard about them. So I'm excited to get your report on it and to see how it compares because you have been to the European Christmas markets. So you can kind of draw a direct comparison to see, do we get even remotely that experience here in the U.S.?
My gathering of this so far, or what I expect, is that the vendors are going to be authentic to what you get there. It's going to be very similar. I think a lot of them come over from there and set up shop here. It's like this little corner. And somebody even reached out to me after listening to us talk about this on the podcast, and we're like, I just want to warn you that it's like very, very small, and it's going to be nothing like Europe. Don't get your hopes up that it's going to be this vast thing. And I'm like, no, that's fine. Like, my kids have never been to one in Europe, so they're going to be happy with anything. I just worry like how crammed it will be in all of those things, but it is definitely on the smaller. You look at the picture; it's on the smaller side. It's like maybe a sixth of what you would get in Vienna at the biggest one. It's more. It looks like what you get. Vienna has so many. The offshoot ones, it's probably more like that size. But we're also going to go, I think, to the one in Wrigley, which used to be affiliated to the one downtown. Like across from the Bean, but I think it's now its own little thing. So we'll see both those. So I should have some good info, some good intel for people, like how the two compare, if it's worth it. It's definitely a lot cheaper to go to Chicago than it is to go to Germany or something like that.
I wonder how many more cities in the U.S. have Christmas markets, like not to the level of maybe even that, or obviously in Europe, but just their regional celebrations. We see that with all kinds of holidays, obviously. So I'm sure there's more of that. And yeah, it's cool to be in the spirit. It's officially December, so we can officially celebrate, put up the decorations. Do you have the decorations? I don't see them behind you, Mark. What's going on?
No, we were busy. My daughter kept asking about it, and then we got home Sunday and everybody was kind of tired and everything. So I think they'll do it not this weekend because we'll be in Chicago unless they do it during the week. So I think it's going to be a couple weeks. Usually it's up and rolling by now, but I will say Detroit downtown has like kind of like a Christmas market type of thing, but it's like these sheds they put up that are more like sturdy and they're indoor. Like you have to open the door to go in, and it's more just like little shops versus what you see at Christmas markets. But they do have this thing called like the Cadillac Lodge. It's like this big pop-up tent that's got fireplaces in it, and not real fire, but like video fireplaces and big leather couches and stuff. And it feels like you're at like a ski lodge. They have hot drinks with alcohol in them and all kinds of stuff. So that's really fun and something unique. But the Christmas market aspect of it just doesn't really do anything for me.
So I guess last thing before we go, Black Friday just happened. All the sales, all the craziness with portals and buyers groups. I know a lot of people were doing it. I didn't buy much. I bought a refrigerator, which I needed, which was a great deal from Samsung using a student discount. So I guess my son technically bought the refrigerator for me, but did you get anything cool?
No, I didn't buy it. I actually bought something today. I saw on Doctor of Credit that they had the newer Zelda game for the Switch it's normally like $60 or $70 and was on sale for $30. So I got that. But the first game was so great that I think that the kids and I'll like the second one. So I jumped on that, but that was the only thing. I didn't even look at any deals, and so because I knew if I looked at something, I'd buy something. That'd be like, oh, that's really good, just because it's a good deal versus I need it. And that's what I always used to do on Prime Day, especially when I was writing about it for Miles to Memories. Like, there's so many things you look at so much that you're like, all right, I'm going to grab that because that's a really good deal. and some of the things worked out well, but I'm like, nope, I'm just not going to look at anything.
Well, you learn that oftentimes you can get the same deals other times of the
Yeah.
year. Once in a while, you'll see something that's crazy or killer. I know a lot of the streaming service deals I've taken advantage of. Like I've done the Hulu deal every single year for the last 4 years, just re-upped for that for 99 cents for a year, stuff like that. But yeah, I didn't do much other than the refrigerator, feeling a little guilty, but I'm not buying any Legos this year either because of some devastating stuff that's happened on the reseller side. So I guess I can tease that for the next show. I was going to talk about it here today, but I'll talk about it next week on what happened, what's happening to
I wanna
Amazon
know now.
sellers, and why people should probably not try to build a business selling on Amazon anymore. So yeah, we'll talk about that. It's been pretty brutal, Mark. And
Oof.
that's why you don't know about it, because I don't want to talk about it, but I will.
We never talked about the whole Amazon, and you might want to cut this out, but the Amazon, somebody hacked your account and took your money and they didn't do anything. We never talked about that either, did we?
I think I mentioned it briefly, but yeah, I guess I can go into that next week as well. It's been ugly with the Amazon seller stuff lately, and I'm just going to hold back my tears while we close this out. But we do 2 shows on this channel. We do this podcast where we're talking about, you know, long form and stories, what we're doing. And then on Wednesdays, we do 20-minute travel, which is all your news. So all the stories you need to keep up with miles and points for the week on this channel. Make sure to leave a comment, subscribe, thumbs up, help us out so we can reach more people. Share our videos too. If you know people who want to get into the hobby, they can get a little of the personal side. We get you down to the nuts and bolts with the news. And we're doing everything all the time on Twitter, everywhere else. So yeah, good times, Mark. Where can people find you if they're when they're not watching this? Even though I don't know why we still do this on this video version, but here we go.
I don't know either. You can find me on Twitter at Detroit Mark. You can read any of my articles at Travel on Points, or join the Facebook group over there. I'm in it all the time. Of course, watch this video, 20-minute travel, MTM Vegas, all that stuff. How about you?
Lots of me and Mark, MTM Vegas, milestomemories.com for everything else for me, at Miles to Memories on social media. See you over in the Vegas show. See you at 20-minute travel. Thanks for watching. Talk to you next time.
Have a good week, everybody.